Hey there, BookTube! Chelsea, the Reading Outlaw, here to do a Let's Talk video. As you probably saw from the title when you clicked on over, we are here today to talk about the Gilmore Girls revival that just happened. I have my You're My Rory coffee mug, which gives me slightly more quibbles now than it did before the revival came out. But grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee and a snack, and sit down, and we're going to chat. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving or a happy weekend, whatever it was you were doing. The new episodes of Gilmore Girls, the four episode series revival, came out on the 25th of November, and because I don't ever sleep ever, I was up at like 3 in the morning. I managed to watch all of it in the course of the day. It's only like 6 hours long. Each episode's an hour and a half. So essentially, I binged it and then waited a day and watched it again. And now I'm making this video because I have some thoughts about it. And I've spent several hours deconstructing it with several good friends on the internet in a number of ways. And yeah, I definitely just figured I would come here to chat about it because, as you guys know or heard me talking about on the podcast or just in general, I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan. Gilmore Girls was a huge part of my life growing up and my life in terms of representation on television and seeing myself portrayed on television in a way that I hadn't seen before. The original show definitely had problems with things like diversity and privilege, and some homophobia and stuff like that. And so it wasn't like the greatest show ever, but it was great to me because I fell in love with it in a time before I would like really recognize those things and saw a lot of those things. And here was this girl who read a lot and who wasn't necessarily the most socially active, but she was really close with her mom and she had a couple of good friends and she was really good at what she was doing, but she needed to figure her shit out. And so it's just like, I really enjoyed the television show. So of course, when I heard the revival was coming back, I was super excited. I was super stoked. I bought my mom and I these mugs for her Mother's Day. They're matching. This one says, You're My Rory. Hers says, You're My Lorelai. So it's like a thing. It's like a thing between us, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people who watched it, especially girls who watched it with their moms. But when I watched the revival, I watched it the first time, processed, watched it the second time, and processed. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the stuff I didn't like first, and then talk about the stuff that I loved, because I don't want to leave this video like on a negative place, because on a whole, my feelings about the show are that I really am glad that it exists. I enjoyed watching it. I will be watching it in the future. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. Like when Arrested Development came out with their Netflix released season, I did not enjoy it, and I don't ever watch it when I go back and binge watch the rest of that show. I just ignore it and skip it. I won't do that with this one. When I rewatch the Gilmore Girls, I'll include the revival. But there were definitely problems that I had with it. So let's talk about those problems. First and foremost, Rory is a really, really bad person. And that goes back to the joke I made earlier about my quibbles with the mug. Like, obviously this fits because, like, I'm the daughter and my mom is the mom. Like, it works. But Rory is a really bad person. And I no longer believe that Rory is the person in this show with which we should sympathize or aspire to be or take empathy or to take her side. I don't feel that way anymore. She's just, this is the time to say that there will be spoilers in this conversation. I probably should have said that earlier, but this is where the spoilers start. So if you haven't seen it yet, bye. All right. Everybody still here? Okay. So the fact that she is continuing to be Logan's mistress while he is admittedly engaged to this woman whom we never meet is wholly problematic for me. And I understand that that philandering happens and infidelity happens. And I understand that she is not under the same obligations that he is under because he is the one who has made the promise of commitment to this other woman, to Odette. But at the same time, I felt as though for Rory, this was a step back in her character. I thought we'd seen her learn this lesson after she had an affair with Dean. And apparently not. Apparently that just didn't happen. And there's just something about Rory, and I don't know if it's because I think it stands out more in the revival than it did in the original series, that Alexis Bledel, while a good actor, is not as good an actor as so many of the other people in the series. So I don't know if she just pulled down those scenes, or if it's because truly Rory is just nothing but white privilege and laziness. Well, okay, not laziness, but it's just I took umbrage with the way that they portrayed freelance writing and her life as a freelancer and as a self-employed writer. The fact that she would not go to her Condé Nast interview with stories to pitch and the only thing to rely on this thing that she'd already written, and the fact that what really bothered me is she went to this interview with a job that had been pursuing her, and yet she was completely unprepared. And I understand that if they've been pursuing you, that you feel more confident in your interview, but you need to come correct and you need to prepare. So just at every step along the way, Rory was making decisions that I just felt were not only out of line with her character, but that were just the decisions a bad person would make. I just did not enjoy her storylines, and I enjoyed seeing her with Lorelai. But even towards the end, when we get to the portion in which Rory is writing her book, I felt like obviously there were some imbalances there and a lack of respect there of her mother's wishes and her mother's feelings, and she just felt this entitlement, and I don't like it. So basically most of my problems with the series boil down to the fact that I just didn't like Rory, and I didn't like the decision that Rory made. I also didn't like a lot of the stuff that I thought would stop. Like, there were great steps that were made in terms of representation. We get a canonically queer character finally established. Like, it's implied heavily throughout the original show, but it's never actually established. And now we have that. Michelle is established as officially being queer. He's married to a man. It's great. But then there are like body shaming jokes at the pool and like class privilege jokes and transphobic jokes from the Life and Death Brigade, which really made me sad because I love the Life and Death Brigade. I loved that part of the original series. So I just didn't, it felt like one step forward, two steps back in terms of some of the representation and some of the things that were said and done. And I just didn't feel like that was in keeping with the spirit of the original show, which is weird to say because I know Amy and Dan Palladino did the original show, but it just feels, I don't know, something feels out of sync with it. And then there was the ending. The ending. I didn't like the way that things ended for so many characters. I didn't like the way that things ended for basically every female. For Lane, I didn't like the fact that all we saw of Paris was her messy divorce, and we didn't really get to focus on the fact that she had established this amazing business and this thriving institution. And I just didn't, those last 4 words were bad, you guys. It was bad writing. It was lazy writing. It was intentionally manipulatively dramatic in terms of the fact that as far as we know, we're not getting any more episodes. So to leave your entire fan base on a known cliffhanger like that. And then there's the fact that those 4 words were the words that were supposed to end the series originally. So if you think about it, originally Rory was supposed to have graduated from Yale, turned to her mom and said, "Mom, I'm pregnant." And that was supposed to be the end. That's not okay. I would not have been okay with that ending in any context. I was talking to my friend Claire and my friend Kay, and basically what Claire said, with which I agree, is the only way that Rory turns to Lorelai and says, "Mom, I'm pregnant," and it doesn't make my eyeballs want to pop out, is if she follows it up by saying, "I got a job with Paris's surrogacy agency. I'm going to be pregnant to make money while I go to New York to live with her and work on my book," or something to that effect. That's the only way this works out, in a way that doesn't just make me want to, like, good. So the ending really put a downturn on things for me, because here was the show that was supposed to be about what can happen between a mother and a daughter when there is nothing but love and mutual respect and a desire to both give and do better. And it turns out nothing happens. It turns out you just get pregnant just like your mom did because you don't know about condoms, even though you went to Yale, and you wouldn't seek an abortion or adoption, even though you are like writing a book and you're living this jet setting life. It's like, it doesn't ring true to me in so many ways, on so many levels. I just do not like. So now that I've ranted at you for like 10 minutes about the things I didn't like, let's talk about the things I did like, because there were things that I did like. I really, really love Luke and Lorelai throughout this entire series. I think that the relationship dynamic between Luke and Lorelai is really, in my experience, a true portrayal of what can happen between two people who have decided to dedicate their lives to each other outside the traditional bonds of an established marriage, and how that interplay works and how that dynamic works and how you negotiate what one person wants, what another person wants, especially if you're coming to this relationship later in life and there are kids and baggage. And there were certain aspects of it that I didn't think were realistic. I didn't like when Lorelai just took off for the woods. I didn't think that the Wi-Fi password joke at the diner was like super funny necessarily, but as a whole, that unit and that focal dynamic really, really, I thought worked well. But what absolutely saved this show for me was Emily Gilmore. Emily fucking Gilmore is where this show is at. I loved every single storyline that she had. This idea that after 50 years of marriage, more than 50 years of marriage, she is now alone and having to reconcile who this new person is with who that old person was, and her love for Richard and her dynamics with her daughter. If I could have just watched 6 hours about a newly minted widow grieving and negotiating life with her self-centered daughter and granddaughter while moving to New England and becoming a docent at a whaling museum, this video would be way shorter because I just would have been like, yep, loved it, done. So I just feel like Emily Gilmore and Kelly Bishop, it was so good. It was so fucking amazing. Every scene that she was in killed me. I absolutely loved it. Also, Kirk. Salt and Pepper Kirk this season, way more attractive than Kirk has ever been before. Very weird to say because it's Kirk. Also, I thought that his bits totally killed it. I thought that of all the side characters that came back, Kirk absolutely, the bits with Uber and Lorelai in the back of the car and old people passing out, I just really felt like Kirk was the side character that was on point the most this season. I also really liked the cameos of everyone that we got. It felt a little forced. Some of them were a little fan servicey. Looking at you, insert shot of Mr. Kim. That is 1,000% complete fan service. If you have been listening to complaints from the Gilmore Girls fandom at all, that we've never seen Kim's dad, there you go. Problem fixed. But for the most part, as kind of like forced and reunion show-ish as it felt, it was also really enjoyable and really cute. And I loved getting to see everybody. I wish we'd gotten to see more of some people. Suki, where'd that go? Where'd she go? Where's Melissa McCarthy at? I don't think it counts having her come in for the last 20 minutes of an episode. Anyway, but I just really enjoyed getting to see everyone, and I loved the cameos and the updates from the entire Stars Hollow kind of world, and it was just really fun. I was able to turn off some of the problematic, not all, but some of the problematic elements, and just go back to that state of mind when I first watched the show of really enjoying it and really seeing this town portrayed on screen and these people portrayed on screen with whom I would like to be friends in real life and with whom I would like to get to know in real life. Some of the characters I'd like to know have shifted. Paris, girl, I am coming for you. I saw a tweet that was like, my sexuality right now, Paris Geller in this revival. Amen to that. I am 1,000% here for that. Paris Geller, Liz Wow, looking good. But in general, I didn't think that the revival was everything that I wanted it to be, but it was definitely, I think, a better ending than the one we got for season 7. So on the whole, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I'll have it to watch again in the future, but it definitely had some of its problematic elements. All right, guys. All right. I've talked, I've ranted, feel cleansed. Let me know down below if you watched it, what you thought, what your thought on the original series was, how you liked the ending, all those things. Any thoughts, leave them down below. I am ready to continue to talk about this till the cows come home. I've already spent so many hours deconstructing it, but I'm here for more. So let me know down below. You can also hit me up on all the social media links that are provided in the down bar. Let me know what you're reading. I'm always here to talk books with you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Until next time, happy reading.